and the Republicans causing a government shutdown has completely backfired in their face. Now, I know many people don't have high respect for the Democrats, but for years we've all been saying that we wish they had more of a spine and they would fight back. But now they're fighting back in a very important way, and people still seem to be pissed at them, and I don't get why. The Republicans are trying to triple people's healthcare premiums and trying to take away healthcare from 20 million people. And the Democrats firmly said, no, we're not allowing that to happen. Trump is now pissed because he thought that the Democrats were going to just quickly roll over and this shutdown would last fewer than 10 days. But the Democrats are holding firm on this, and it's just making Trump and the Republicans look stupid. Because again, they have all three branches of the government and they can't get it funded. Not only that, but Mike Johnson and the rest of the Republicans are not even in town. They're still off on what they're calling vacation, and they're getting paid during this shutdown. And Mike Johnson refuses to even reconvene the House because he doesn't want to swear in Adelita Grijalva and have a vote on the Epstein file release. The Republicans have no way out of this, and they are absolutely screwed. Most of the people in this country are rightly blaming the Republicans for this shutdown, but the Republicans can't end the shutdown or there'll be a public vote on the Epstein files. But they can't keep the government closed forever because it's just making people hate them more. So once again, the genius businessman just fucked it all up. And all at the expense of millions of Americans who currently have no way to get food. So if this situation does not change, just remember, there's a reason why Putin always wins his elections in Russia with 95% of the popular vote. Because with a combination of successfully gaslighting a third of the population, taking control and owning the voting machines, and in some cases making people vote by gunpoint, fascists tend to not care what they do to the people.
Finally, Republicans in Congress are turning on Donald Trump and calling him out for his lies. Now, as you know, cost of living is a huge reason Republicans lost elections last Tuesday. But Donald Trump has started coming out and saying that cost of groceries are down, cost of energy is down. He's just trying to gas his way through. Well, Republicans this time around are not just accepting it, as they are now calling him out. Thomas Massie has directly called him out and said that he is lying to the American people. Marjorie Taylor Greene today went on CNN to say that indeed prices are up under Donald Trump. This is the turn that we needed. And it is amazing that it took the risk of losing their own jobs to turn on Donald Trump. All the damage he was doing to the country made no matter to them so long as they could keep their positions. But now that they realize that their positions are in risk, now they want to stand up to him. So while I'm happy that they're finally doing it, I give them no credit, as they would have followed him down this road so long as Republicans would still win.
All right, so Donald Trump admitted to reporters yesterday that Republicans are to blame for the government shutdown and that voters on election night delivered that message, squarely blaming the Republican Congress for the government shutdown and rewarding Democrats for the Republican chaos. So it's very rare, in my opinion, for the president to tell the truth, but he's completely right. Of course, Republicans are to blame for the shutdown. By the way, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. The idea that a government shutdown would be the responsibility of the party in the minority is nonsensical, and voters aren't stupid. And Donald Trump has repeated his call for the Senate to end the filibuster. And I'm a Democrat, and I agree. But it's a reminder that the Senate could open the government tomorrow. The filibuster is optional. It's not mandatory. And if the Republican Senate decides to get rid of the filibuster, they can open the government tomorrow with 51 votes. They instead have been choosing to work with Democrats because they don't want to get rid of the filibuster. But if you're not going to get rid of the filibuster and you need Democrats, you have to actually negotiate with them, like Chuck Schumer negotiated with Mitch McConnell in December. I think Republicans had such a bad night on Tuesday. My opinion is you're going to see the government open, and in my opinion, open relatively quickly.
The MAGA Republican leaders were absolutely losing it on Capitol Hill. They're still trying to cope with the massive blue wave that hit on Tuesday. Just show you a sample of what's going down. You have MAGA Republican Congress member Emmer, and he says, you know, the real things that we need to be worried about are people who says that there are no problems too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about. He's attacking that as though that's a bad thing for government to be helpful. Here, play this clip.
Pro-terrorist Marxist radicals are now the left's mainstream. We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about. That is a direct quote from Kami Mamdani, and it should terrify every single freedom-loving American.
Okay. What am I want? I mean, is he auditioning for an Oscar? It's just some like weirdo stuff right there. Then you have MAGA Republican Congress member Steve Scalise say it's not a big deal. It's just blue states voting blue. We didn't see these results in like red districts and red counties and Georgia and other areas, which by the way, we did see massive shifts from red to blue in key bellwethers. But go on, Scalise. Let's play it.
You know, when the speaker mentioned that, is it any surprise that last night blue states voted blue? We're talking Virginia, New Jersey, New York. By the way, none of those were swing states. You had 7 swing states in the election a year ago today. And by the way, we celebrate that a year ago today, Donald Trump was elected president of the United States.
So I don't know about you all, but did you all see an increasingly large amount of people on the right yesterday speaking about the gubernatorial candidate for Virginia? And one of the biggest takeaways was the fact that Barack Obama didn't endorse her simply because of the fact that she was black, and that he should have endorsed her because she was black, and it would have been historic to have the first black governor. When isn't this the same party that actively speaks out against DEI and hiring people solely based upon their race? It surely does seem to me that they're also engaging in identity politics, which, if I'm not mistaken, this whole anti-woke movement was supposed to stop the two of those things from happening. But I think what's even funnier is the fact that they're actively trying to tell black people exactly how we should vote, when we all know that all skin folk ain't kinfolk, and most importantly, that the woman was a Republican herself and had no inclination that she would have did the right thing other than be a puppet.
It's the 36th day of the Republican shutdown. This is now the longest shutdown in history, and people across America are starting to see their healthcare premiums rise. Don't believe me? Here are some real-world, terrifying examples just days after the ACA tax credits expired on November 1st. A woman in Florida received her proposed health insurance bill for January, and her health insurance skyrocketed from $192 a month to $874. Then there's a 64-year-old couple in West Virginia who make $85K a year. Last month, their monthly premiums were $552. This month, because ACA subsidies expired, their monthly premiums are over $4,800. We should say that again, $4,800 a month. Then there's a family of 4 in Arizona that makes $82,000 a year. Their premiums are increasing by 300% in the next year. Their monthly premium went from $167 to $755. So this is what Democrats in Congress have been fighting to prevent. But so far, MAGA Republicans have refused to come to the table and negotiate. Working people simply cannot afford these increases. When it comes to this shutdown, our health is truly on the line.
News for Donald Trump, bad news for the economy, and bad news for the United States under Donald Trump's economic leadership. What? Yes. Again, jobs report today that was released by CNBC. It is by actually the outplacement company Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. And they found that in October, there were 153,074 jobs that were cut by companies here in the United States. This is a 183% increase over September's job cuts, and it's not good. Here today, there are more than 1 million jobs being cut. We're going the opposite direction. The last time we had 1 million jobs cut in a year was back in the pandemic in 2020 because of the pandemic. We see many of these jobs are in technology, warehousing, and other industries. People are losing their jobs, and large companies I've seen from UPS to Target to Amazon to you name it are laying off people. So again, latest statistics, as you know, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is not operating because of the government shutdown, Donald Trump's government shutdown, and clearly the people that voted on Tuesday blame Donald Trump for that, among other things. But there you have it. The latest shows, as far as job cuts go, 153,074 jobs were cut in October. Donald Trump, we're heading in the wrong direction. And it's under your economic policy, your trade wars, all these things you're doing, and inflation is going up. You're not helping the country. Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and my burned out light bulbs. Let me know what you think, and what are you seeing?
Let's check back in with Maria Salazar. She's a Cuban American, a U.S. Congresswoman from Florida, a Trumper, supporting Trump in 2024. Here's what she said after he won the election.
This is a realignment. It's a realization by the Hispanics that the new home is the Republican Party.
A year later, and we've all seen Trump's policies, ICE rounding up undocumented migrants, some who have been here for decades, paying taxes, raising children, retired. She's kind of changed her tune.
Hispanics married President Trump. They're only dating the GOP. I've been warning it. If the GOP does not deliver, we will lose the Hispanic vote all over the country. And unfortunately, it happened last night. In New Jersey and Virginia, Hispanics moved back more than 25 points to the Democratic Party.
We have major news right now. Donald Trump and Republicans are melting down behind the scenes following last night's seismic results in election night for Democrats, an election night that saw Democrats sweep the nation, win after win after win. And now behind closed doors, we're learning that Donald Trump is actively lashing out at Republican senators, blaming them essentially for last night's election night results, saying that the government shutdown that has now reached day 36, a record, is killing them. Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina, who has been a key Trump ally for a long time, pushed back, saying, sir, we're not going to gut the filibuster. We're not going to end this critical tool that preserves the United States Senate, because if we gut it, then Democrats, when they take power, they're going to do even worse to us. And while Donald Trump said, you know, Lindsey, we could only do so much during reconciliation, and you know that for a fact, he lashed out at folks like Lindsey Graham and others who refuse to nuke the filibuster in an effort to pass Republican policies, in an effort to pass the Trump administration's agenda. And Donald Trump, he is not happy. He is not having it, because he knows that what is happening right now is setting the stage for a major blue wave in 2026, one that could give Democrats the House of Representatives and even potentially the United States Senate. And if Democrats are able to do both, to win both, well, then Donald Trump's term is effectively cut in half. And today, Mike Johnson was speaking about this and was talking about how if Democrats were to take power, they're going to go after the Trump administration with investigations, possible impeachment, trying to end Donald Trump's term in just 2 years' time. I want you to watch this moment.
President Trump is on the ballot next fall. Because if we lose the majority, if the Republicans, the common sense people here who are doing the job for the American people, if we lose the majority in the House and this radical element of the Democratic Party were able to take over, we've already seen that movie. They will try to end the Trump administration. He won't have 4 years, he'll have only 2, because they will move to impeach him probably on the first day of the new Congress in January 2027. And they will try to systematically unwind all the important reforms that we've done for the American people.
Mike Johnson is clear. He's not messing around. He is sending a warning shot to Republicans on Capitol Hill, because he knows that Democrats are licking their chops to go after the Trump administration, and honestly, justifiably so. There has been a lot about what the Trump administration has done that could violate the law, could violate the United States Constitution. And well, Democrats are gearing up to launch major investigations into Donald Trump for a whole host of issues. And well, if they have the majority in the House and they have the majority in the Senate, then there is nothing stopping them from trying to go after Trump. And it's not just impeachment, because impeachment, remember, while it requires a majority vote in the House, it requires 2/3 in the Senate to convict, which will not happen. Democrats will not have a 2/3 Senate majority. And anyone who tells you that is lying to you. I'm not going to.
In the latest Department of Justice bombshell, the Epstein files are reportedly way worse for Trump than anybody had originally thought. Maybe not anybody, but than most had originally thought. The panic inside the Republican Party after Tuesday's losses is now at a fever pitch. Multiple House Republicans are reportedly freaking out after they finally realized they backed the wrong horse, as they hear from the DOJ that unreleased Epstein documents are especially compromising for President Donald Trump. The rumors are sweeping through the GOP caucus that the new evidence that will be unsealed includes Donald Trump with naked teenage girls. Trump's own biographer has said that he's seen the pictures. And after Pam Bondi refused to answer these questions from Senator Whitehouse about whether or not she saw these pictures before, it's about to get real in this Republican Party. Bondi tried to dodge the question by throwing out false accusations about Democrats. But Whitehouse fired right back, calling her statements a bold-faced lie. Let's be clear. If this Epstein file report is true, it could expose a massive cover-up, including the President of the United States in a pedophilia ring. And the Republicans know it, and they're terrified because they've been, as I said, backing the wrong horse all along. Share your thoughts in the comment section and follow me for more.
I'm watching this Senate hearing, listening, where they're talking about reopening the government or, at the very minimum, passing a bill to make sure that all the federal workers get paid. So Kennedy gets up, he gives his little spiel about wanting to make sure that all the workers are taken care of. And then a Democratic congresswoman, who I'm not familiar with, I have no idea what her name is, she gets up and she's giving her response. And she's like, we would be fine with passing a bill to make sure that federal workers continue to get paid. Here's how we want to do it, but in the meantime, here's what we'd be willing to do. And she said, this bill that you guys put forward gives Donald Trump the ability and the right to choose which federal workers get paid. If you want to pass a bill, make it so that it's all the federal workers, not just the ones that Trump thinks should get paid. And she lists his quote where he talks about the fact that he wants to make sure that their people are taken care of. But there's other people he doesn't think need to be taken care of, so they're going to get taken care of in a different way. She said, if you want us to pass this bill, make it so that it's all federal workers and not just the ones that Donald Trump deems worthy. To which Kennedy gets back up and talks about how Democrats just need to get over the election. They just need to deal with the fact that Trump won. They just need to deal with the fact that he's their president, and she needs to stop being so emotional. At no point did he rebuttal her argument. At no point. At no point did he say that what she said was a lie. He just called her emotional and said that she needs to get over the fact that Trump is president. This shutdown isn't going to end.
If the midterms next year are anything like the 2018 midterms, then Democrats will definitely get control of the House, and they may even flip the Senate. And that would be a nightmare scenario for Donald Trump. All of the crimes that he has committed since taking office, all of the bribery schemes, the extortion, the kickbacks, selling pardons, I mean, on and on and on. Democrats would be in a position to be able to investigate all that. And let me remind you, we've talked about this before, bribery is a crime, and it is a crime for which there is no immunity for Trump. Remember, the Supreme Court's horrible immunity decision only applies to official acts. You cannot argue that bribery is an official act of the President of the United States, especially when you look at the impeachment clause. And there's only 2 offenses in the impeachment clause that are named as things that if a president does these things, he can be impeached and removed from office. That is bribery and treason. Bribery, treason, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. So that's one that's specifically named. So there's no way you can argue that bribery is an official act entitled to immunity from prosecution. So every act of bribery, he can be prosecuted for. He's scared to death of these things coming out. If Democrats, here's a good example. If Democrats have control of Congress, they can invite Jack Smith to testify and talk about his report and all the evidence they had against Donald Trump. I mean, it could get really, really bad for Donald Trump. And so I think he's panicked. I know he's panicked. He's friggin' panicked. And so I came across this tweet that he posted this morning, and man, it is bonkers. It shows you how panicked I think that he is. He's calling for the termination of the filibuster, not to to reopen the government without Democrats. I don't think he gives a shit about reopening the government. I think he'd.
So this is a quick note for the Trump supporters, the MAGA, the people that have identified as Republican possibly your entire life and could never imagine anything different. You are watching what is happening right now, and I would imagine, I'm not you, but I would imagine there is a significant struggle because you are seeing an administration that clearly doesn't have the people's interest at heart. When you know that there are funds within the USDA to feed children, disabled individuals, seniors, and families who qualify for that assistance, and you have a president and an administration that is choosing, just simply choosing, not to fund it. There's just no excuse. Like, it doesn't matter how many, hoops you jump through, how many, pretzel knots you twist yourself into. There's no justification for that. But I have good news for you. You don't have to justify it. You don't. You can simply just say, yeah, this is not okay. This is not the party that I have always belonged to. It has changed. And because it has changed, I must also change. And I am not telling you to become a Democrat. I am not telling you to become an independent or a member of the Green Party. This is not about parties. What I am saying to you is it is okay to vote for the individuals who have the heart and the policies that benefit people. Not just ultra-rich people, but average, ordinary people. People who have lost jobs, people who have to work 2 or 3 jobs, people who have had, corporations close, manufacturing jobs leave, industries go away, and they are struggling to make ends meet. It is okay. It is okay to say, you know what? Things are changing, therefore I must change as well. Holding on to something that no longer represents your values at your core of who you are, that's not patriotism, folks. That's not loyalty. That is the sacrifice of who you are, your moral guidelines, and the person you choose to be in this life. So feel free, make a change. I'm not telling you to join a different party. What I am saying is, look at people that are running for office, cover up that letter beside their name, and choose the people who have policies that will actually help your communities, because this ain't working.